Hey, I'm so glad you joined me today. Got a great topic to talk with you about today. Sex. Who doesn't like to talk about sex? Most of us love it. Culture talks about sex all the time, constantly. In fact, when it speaks, the voice of culture is always incredibly loud. Most movies, most TV shows, most songs, most ads are always telling us something about sex. When culture speaks, it's always exciting. I mean, it makes my heart race, it makes your blood rush. That's just normal. And it seems to me that the message is this: dating can be dicey, so beware. Marriage can be messy, so beware. In the meantime, why not hook up? It's fun, it's consequence-free, and everyone's doing it. Now, behind that basic cultural message, I think is an assumption about two things. First, I think there's an assumption about truth. What is truth? Second, I think there's an assumption about consequences. Would you examine those two with me for a few minutes? Let's start with truth. I think the basic assumption here is that your truth is your truth, my truth is my truth. I first heard my daughter say that to me when she was about 16 or 17, and I mentioned something to her. She goes, "That's a nice idea, but that's your truth." I thought, okay. What she was expressing was a very popular view today, and that is that truth is relative, that there's no such thing as an absolute truth. And that also means in the world of moral decisions, there's no such thing as an absolute standard. Right and wrong are just a human idea. I think some things are right and wrong. You think some things are right and wrong. There's not really any absolute that would tell us one way or the other who's right or who's wrong. We have preferences, of course. We have values, but there's no real truth to support it. Therefore, on the topic of sex, you might say, hey, you believe sex is reserved for marriage. Yay for you. That's your truth. I believe sex can be with anyone, anytime, anywhere. Yay for me. That's my truth. Don't judge me. I won't judge you. Now, if you're a fan of moral relativism, and by that I mean if you espouse that or live by it, I want to ask you to re-examine it for a moment. I want to give you 3 reasons why I think you might want to reconsider moral relativism. And really what I'm suggesting is, I think if you'll examine it carefully, you might find that you're smarter than all 3 of these views. Let's just try it. First, moral relativism is self-contradictory. By definition, whenever you say a morally relevant statement, you're contradicting yourself. Like if you say, that's true for you, but it's not true for me. Well, think about that. If you believe that's an absolute statement, oh, you don't. You believe it's a moral statement. Then what you said is true for you, but it's not for me, or vice versa. Do you see how self-contradictory that is? In the same way, if you say truth is relative, I'm sure of it, well, then what you said is relative. Second, moral relativism makes life random. If there's no absolute truth, then there's no design to all of life. That means you're just the random byproduct of some kind of random cosmic event, which makes you random and me random. But who in the world wants to be random? I don't want my life to be random. I don't think you do either. You don't want to live with no purpose. I think that you actually are smarter than that. And moral relativism has nothing to say to evil. Now, let's just take the most evil person any of us can think of in the last century, Adolf Hitler. Now, what would a moral relativist say to Adolf Hitler if they were talking about Hitler's choices back in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s? So if you're facing him, you could say, Fuhrer, the best I can say to you is, I wish you hadn't done that, but that was your truth. Different strokes for different folks. I wouldn't have done it, but that's my truth. Now, if that feels too weak and too spineless to you, you might want to turn around and say, hey, what you did, attempted genocide, it was pure evil. Well, which one is it? You can't have it both ways. You can't say that moral relativism is right for you, but it's not for Adolf Hitler. You see, the hookup culture is built on moral relativism. That's your truth, it's my truth, we all have our own truth. But if, as I've suggested, moral relativism is really suspect, then should it be the foundation for something as important as your sex life? All right, we've examined the concept of truth. Let's examine consequences. The standard assumption behind hooking up is this: it's fun, it has 0 consequences, and everyone's doing it. You know as well as anybody what hooking up is. I'm referring to any brief, commitment-free sexual encounter with another person. Super popular on college campuses. In fact, 1% more students, according to statistics, hook up than even date these days. And of course, those who do hook up say that what they're doing has no consequences. In fact, they say it's victimless. Yet, interviews all across college campuses for the last 5 years show that for young adults, sexually transmitted diseases are up. Depression is up. Alcohol abuse is up. In fact, 9 out of 10 hookups with total strangers involve alcohol. That may not be a surprise to you. You may have your own story, but if you don't want to have a story like that, then stay away from alcohol and the hookup mindset and somebody you don't know. And let's not forget the psychological difference between men and women. I am an egalitarian when it comes to marriage. My wife and I see each other as full equals in every possible way in life. And yet that doesn't mean we're the same. In fact, romantically or sexually, men and women seek different things. As one very intelligent writer has said, men are looking for apocalyptic sex, stars and stripes forever. Women looking for relational sex. Doesn't mean that either one doesn't want what the other wants, but it means mostly the men are looking for the off-the-chart experience that they can tell their friends about, and the women want to make sure that the guy is probably around a little bit later than that one event. Sadly, according to post-hookup interviews, most women are missing what they're looking for. In a book by Laura Stepp, where she talks about what the whole experience of hooking up is for women, the book's called Unhooked. Of all the women that she interviewed, here's what she concluded, quote, "Hookups left most young women unsatisfied, though they were unwilling to admit it to their peers." Kind of like in high school, lots of guys brag in the locker room far more than reality about last Friday night. Sadly, here women brag more about how great the sex was or how great the guy was in a hookup than what was true, because she was very unfulfilled. So I ask you today, what if sex is too valuable for hookups? What if sex is a gift that allows two people to actually bond physically and emotionally, that allows you to enjoy pleasure with another person and, yes, to bear children? What if sex is so much like dynamite that it really needs the safety and security of a marital covenant and commitment to keep it from exploding and harming one another? What if casual sex actually lights the fuse of the dynamite I just described? What if sex bonds two people together in such a powerful and permanent way, uniting body and soul, even if all we're thinking about is the body? What if that explains why after sexual intercourse, two people never feel the same way about each other, never see each other the same, and never forget that experience? What if sex is such a powerful gift that we need to draw a boundary around it by reserving it for the security and the joy of marriage? What if marriage alone is a setting where sex finds its purpose fulfilled? Because after all, in marriage, you don't have to worry about the latest technique. You can just experiment and enjoy your lifetime lover. Because in marriage, you don't have to wonder if the other person that you've just had sex with will wake up beside you next week or next month or next year, because you've made a lifelong commitment. In marriage, after all, you don't have to focus solely on the foreplay and the orgasm and the afterglow, which is wonderful and we should all enjoy it. But you can enjoy all that and rest in the true intimacy of the arms of your lover and the arms of love itself. What if culture is not the wisest, most helpful teacher to you about sex? Because all it screams is hook up, hook up, hook up. But what if there's another voice speaking to you? Can you hear it? Do you want to hear it? If you'd like to talk to me about this, just let me know below. I'd love to have a conversation. And I really do appreciate your watching. If you liked it, if I helped you some, be sure and give it a thumbs up. And if you want more content like this, just click subscribe below. And in the meantime, check out our channel. We've got talks on marriage, on parenting, and lots more. Again, thanks.